Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I want to tell you a story. Years ago, my oldest son, William, was turning 16. Now, this is many, many years ago. My youngest son just turned 30. So they are getting old. Anyway, he was turning 16. It was a big birthday. And I have, for the most part, always worked for myself. And if you work for yourself, you have a really mean boss, and things can be feast or famine. So you learn to budget and maintain and take care of. And it was at a period of time when, I had done loads of work. It wasn't like I had no work. I had loads of work and had done it, and nobody was paying me. And we used to laugh and say, we're not broke, just nobody's paid. So his birthday was coming. I had purchased his present long before, so that wasn't a concern. There was always plenty of food in the house. That was never going to be the case. Every bill had been taken care of. The kids needed extra tools for learning, so they were all in private schools. All the private school bills had been paid. Everything was taken care of. But I didn't have enough in the budget to go out and take us all out to a fancy dinner, which was what I wanted to do on his 16th birthday. And I could have, but then that would have left us without what we needed in the event of an emergency. And so, I was really like watching, back then people would, overnight or mail your payment. And so I'm watching for these, payments and trying to check on things and trying to see what's going to happen. And nobody's budging and nothing's happening. And well, we can go and maybe to come the next day. And no, I grew up hearing, do not count your eggs before the chickens hatch, or before the eggs are hatched, or whatever that saying is. Anyway, um, don't count your chickens before the eggs are hatched. So I was walking around in like worry, and then my worry turned into despair because it felt like I was back at my childhood where we didn't have enough. And in my mind, not being able to take him out for a fancy dinner was a huge thing. Like, the family couldn't go out for this. It's a 16-year-old and we're going to a fancy place, and this is a big deal. In my mind, it turned into, I haven't done any better than my poor, struggling mother working at a long-term care facility as a CNA could do for her 7 kids. It felt like that. And my 5 adopted kids had been, all of us had been given more than my mother could have. But in my mind, it had become the same thing that I couldn't do. It seems so simple saying it now, but back then it was enormous. We couldn't get a cake from a fancy baker and take it with us to the restaurant and do all those things. And I was just praying and watching the mail and praying. And my mother said, "What's going on with you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just checking the mail. And, people are really late with their payments and everything's taken care of. All the bills are paid and we're okay. But I don't know, and blah, blah, blah. And we're not going to put dinner on a credit card because I call that financing French fries." But it's like, I don't know what to do. And I didn't want to say it to her because I didn't want my mother to ever worry about money again. So she said, "No, you're going to tell me what's going on." And I told her. She shook her head. And I said, "I know, Mom, I'm sorry. I just never thought I didn't want to be in this state." And she said, "What state are you in? You have a refrigerator and a freezer full of food. You're one of the best bakers I know. What are you talking about?" And immediately it was like, oh yeah, I have turned not being able to go into this bigger thing that it is. And I've turned this dinner into a bigger thing than it needs to be. And I've turned this fancy cake into a bigger thing. And I knew how to cook. I could cook and I could bake and I could. So we did this really beautiful birthday party at home. And my son, the look on his face when I brought out that little lopsided cake, because it was lopsided that day, he said, I get it. Because I'm 16, I now get a homemade cake. In his mind, not doing what we always did was special, more special, because he had become 16. I know deeper despair than that. And sometimes the new things happen and they look so much like the old things that it's hard to distinguish between the two. Don't despair. Hold out for hope. And know that because you've been through that other thing, you'll get through this one too. I love you.